Hello, and welcome to the Heal the Inner Child experience. What you will be discovering inside of this criteria is how to heal your own inner child. Now, just a heads up, you will also notice within these frameworks that there is a Heal the Inner Child practitioner's training. This is not that course. This is all about you taking yourself on a journey to heal your own inner child, to take yourself through the criteria and to really make some self-discoveries within. Healing the inner child is the doorway to knowing yourself. It's one of those things that when I discovered it, I sort of went, is this really something that I need, or is this just another woo-woo thing? And honestly, once I went through it, I was mind blown. My whole brain just went, wow, that makes so much sense. And wow, that explains why such and such does that. It really does open up your mind to the power of the true you. So who am I? I'm Trish Palmer. I am a master hypnotherapist. Like I said before, when I came along and started to learn about my own inner child, it was one of those things where I was like, you know what, it's late at night. Do I really need to do this? I've done so much self-discovery within myself, but still something wasn't quite right. Something was making me question myself. And I had these little outbursts that I couldn't quite work out. I just wake up tired, or I would kind of self-destruct or self-jeopardize. I was like, why are you doing this, Trish? You know better than this. So I started to learn about the inner child. And then after I did that for approximately 6 months, I was suddenly called to my father's deathbed. So he went in for exploratory surgery on the Thursday. And by the Thursday afternoon, I was rang up interstate and told to come and say goodbye. And I was distraught, like absolutely distraught. My father was my idol. So I raced over the border in tears, drove for like 6 hours straight to get to his bedside. And I sat there. And all I thought was, you can say so many things when you're saying goodbye to someone. Like, it's not like you get a script to rehearse with this stuff. It's not like you've let go of hope that this person will survive. Even when you're sitting there, you just imagine them opening their eyes like the movies, and it was all like some really cruel joke or something. But this wasn't such an occasion. This was goodbye. And as I sat there, I thought, I could have a whole vent if I wanted to and talk about how things have hurt me from the past, etc., etc. Or I could do the whole, I forgive you, Dad, or I forgive myself. But I didn't. I actually sat there and had a conversation just like any other day that I would have with him. I told him about the weather outside. I told him about things that were going on in life. And then I said to him, and this just kind of popped into my mind randomly, because my father was actually a very cruel man. He was quite disturbed, but he had this beautiful nature inside that only came out on the rare occasion, and that's what shone through the most. And as I sat there, all of a sudden it popped into my mind my father's inner child and how it was expressing itself, because I discovered my own inner child, I discovered my adult self, and I discovered my shadow self. But then I came to the realization that because I knew what I knew, I could discover other people's inner childs without them knowing. And it popped into my mind which inner child he was. And as soon as I realized that, I started talking about the inner child and which archetype I believed he was. And it made so much sense. And it was like a world of forgiveness just began to flood over me. I understood what his adult self, what his archetype was. And then I also understood what his shadow archetype was and why he did the things he did. And that his inner child was screaming for help, like screaming to a stage of trauma. And me as his own daughter, because I wasn't educated about it, I hadn't realized, I hadn't heard the messages. And so many people would say, oh, look, he's just an angry man. Other people on the other side would go, look, he's just passionate, but he uses a lot of swear words and drinks a lot, But when I realized that, I was like, wow, When you were in those child moments, you were this archetype. And when you're in those shadow moments, you were in this archetype. And do I wish I could have changed that for the past? Well, yes and no, because everything has its benefits and its downfalls. But part of doing this criteria is learning how to heal yourself, discovering your own strengths and weaknesses inside of your unconscious, your conscious, and your shadow side. So that way you can start to work out your strengths, your weaknesses, those times of temptation when they're creeping in, and how to pull yourself back when you need to, and sometimes just let yourself go and hit the complete bottom. So let's move on. So what will you need for this criteria? Well, you will have inside of the resources down in the next module a bridge book. This bridge book has all of the keys to the knowledge that you will discover about yourself. So please, if you have the ability to print off the bridge book, then please print it off. It's just a wonderful notion to be able to fill something out. And when we're writing something with a pen, we tend to solidify it more inside of the mind, and we remember it much better. But when we're just typing it on a computer, it tends to just go in and out. It's like the computer gives us the ability to forget. So if you have the ability to print out your bridge book, please, by all means, print it out. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's only about probably 10 pages, but please print it out. Otherwise, just have access to it on your computer, and then have a notepad and a pen so that you can write out all of the content. The second thing you'll also need is a picture of yourself when you were a child. Any age between 0 and 7 years old. If you don't have a picture of yourself as a child, what I would like you to do is to write out how you imagined yourself as a child. Now, I have come across people that have said to me, I don't remember what I was like as a child. Well, just pretend. Just imagine what you would have been like, and be really honest with yourself as you go through this entire criteria, because this is about awakening, and the truth will set you free. But first, it'll piss you off. It's just that simple. So have a picture of yourself when you were a child, and if you don't have one, write it out. Just imagine what you would like. Pretend what you were like when you were a child. Another thing you will also need is pen and paper, so you can write down any of the criteria and jot your way through this. I also recommend a really good set of headphones, something that won't disconnect. You do have audios inside of this healing criteria to listen to, so we really don't want you to be having this wonderful experience and then all of a sudden you get a disconnection, or you have a voiceover from your headphones that goes battery low or something like that. So make sure you have a really good set of headphones so that way you can listen to the audios and really delve into your own self-discovery and your own healing. And the last but the best criteria that you will need, and the one that some people definitely struggle with, is a willingness to discover yourself and let go of any past trauma. Everybody's trauma is different. Some people go through some major trauma like sexual abuse, physical abuse, just really yucky, horrible stuff. And some of us go through some minor trauma that later on in life it came up and it triggered us in an even worse way. Each person's trauma is their own individual experience. So the trauma to you is your trauma. It doesn't make it lesser or greater. It's your trauma. And it is your responsibility to start healing it, to work out how to let it go. So therefore, you're not affected by this past. And nothing's going to make the past okay. It's gone. But what we can do is move into the future of being okay. So now it's time to heal. Now it is time to really discover yourself. Now please, whilst you go through this criteria, one thing I highly recommend is that you don't binge it for a day or something like that, like go and do this part and then binge an audio and then do that part and binge an audio. I highly recommend doing it 7 days apart, because it gives us time to process information, it gives us time to reflect on information, and it also gives us time for discovery. A journey of discovery doesn't happen by just taking 1 or 2 steps outside of the door. It happens by continuing to take those steps and expanding out that comfort zone. So that way our comfort zone grows and then we can truly discover ourselves. So please come back to this criteria each 7 days. Move on to the next module now. Listen to that one, learn the criteria, and then come back 7 days after that. Otherwise than that, I'll see you in the next module. Bye-bye.